If Niccolò Machiavelli walked among us today, he wouldn't be a professor, a consultant, or some political commentator. He'd be the invisible engine behind global decisions. He wouldn't trend on Twitter. He wouldn't post selfies. He wouldn't even try to go viral. He'd go silent. Because real power doesn't announce itself, it infiltrates. And in an age where everyone is screaming to be noticed, Machiavelli would dominate by being forgotten in plain sight. You wouldn't know he was in the room until you realized the entire room was moving to his rhythm. And that's exactly what this video is about. Not just quotes, not just history, but doctrine. The 21 psychological rules of power Machiavelli would use if he lived today. Study these rules and you'll see why empires crumble, why leaders rise, and why some people win without lifting a finger. Let's begin. Rule 1. Let them underestimate you. Power is safest when invisible. Today, the loudest people in the room fight for attention. Flashy resumes, expensive cars, constant proof that they matter. Machiavelli would never fight that fight. He'd walk in quiet, let people assume he's irrelevant, and smile as they expose their every insecurity. Why? Because when people think you pose no threat, they stop protecting themselves. They open the gates. They tell you more than they should. They stop calculating around you. And that's when the true strike becomes lethal. Machiavelli wouldn't outshine others, he would outlast them. He'd act small until the moment demanded he become enormous. And by then, no one would be ready. So the rule is simple. Let them dismiss you. Let them underestimate your silence. Because invisibility creates openings noise can never find. Rule 2. Appear charming, truth is optional. In the modern world, truth is weak currency. Perception is the gold standard. Machiavelli understood this 500 years ago. Everyone sees what you appear to be, but very few ever experience what you truly are. That's why he would never waste time proving his honesty. Instead, he'd engineer illusions. A smile in the right meeting, a compliment that disarms a rival, a touch of warmth that hides a cold calculation. Charm is not about kindness, it's about camouflage. The ability to convince people they're safe while you quietly rewire the battlefield around them. He wouldn't need to be the most ethical man in the room. He would only need to be the most believable. And when people believe in your mask, they hand you the keys to their decisions. So remember this, the truth doesn't travel nearly as fast as charisma. Don't waste energy forcing people to see who you are. Instead, feed them the version of you that gets the job done. Rule 3. Confuse to control. Most people fight desperately to be clear. They want to be understood. They want their motives spelled out. Machiavelli would do the opposite. He'd cultivate confusion. He'd give people just enough to obsess over, then leave the rest deliberately incomplete. One day calm, one day intense. Sometimes generous, sometimes distant. Never predictable. Not because he's confused, but because they are. Confusion breeds curiosity. Curiosity breeds obsession. And obsession gives you influence. The person they can't define becomes the person they can't ignore. Think about it. When people don't understand you, they analyze you. They replay your words. They overinterpret your silences. They orbit your ambiguity because they can't control it. Machiavelli knew the most powerful gravitational force isn't clarity, it's mystery. People are addicted to puzzles, and when you become the puzzle, they waste their focus trying to solve you, instead of stopping you. So the modern move is this: stop over-explaining, stop clarifying, stop filling every gap, speak in riddles, smile when you refuse to answer, and let their imagination do the work for you. Because once you become a puzzle, you own their attention. Rule 4. Control what they see, hide what you do. We live in a world where people are obsessed with showing receipts. Everyone posts progress updates, announces projects, documents the grind. But Machiavelli would never put his strategy on public display. He knew the moment people see how you move, they begin preparing countermoves. That's why he'd split his existence in two: public image and private mechanics. He'd appear transparent, but he'd be impenetrable. He'd show polished outcomes, not the systems behind them. He'd look ordinary while designing extraordinary. A prince, Machiavelli wrote, must be prepared to act against charity, against loyalty, even against morality itself if survival demands it. Translation for today: appear noble, move ruthlessly. Share the highlight reel, never the blueprint. If everyone knows your formula, you've already lost. So guard the inputs. Let them think you're slow. Let them assume you're resting. Then overtake them in silence. Because by the time they realize you are working in the shadows, the game is already finished.
Rule 5. Build a mask, then crack it. Perfection is forgettable. People admire it, but they don't obsess over it. What they can't get out of their heads is a fracture, a glimpse of something hidden beneath the mask. Machiavelli would construct the perfect exterior, confident, controlled, intelligent. But once in a while he'd let it slip, a flash of anger in a calm moment, a rare admission that feels like vulnerability, a sharp observation that reveals deeper layers. Not chaos, calculation. Why? Because people don't chase what they fully understand. They chase what feels just out of reach. When you let them see 90% of the picture and then go silent, they'll chase the missing 10% forever. That's the addiction of mystery. You become unforgettable not because they loved your mask, but because they saw it crack. And once they glimpse the abyss beneath, they'll spend years trying to get closer, to explain it, to own a piece of what they'll never control. Be flawless enough to impress, then fracture just enough to obsess. Rule 6. Say less than necessary. Most people talk themselves into weakness. They explain too much, reveal too much, keep filling silence out of fear. Machiavelli would never play that game. He would speak like a blade, sharp, precise, and only as often as required. In a negotiation, in a heated debate, in a moment of tension, he wouldn't try to win with paragraphs. He'd win with sentences. One line, two at most, and then silence. And that silence, that's where the fear begins, because silence is not absence. Silence is a mirror. It forces the other side to project. Why isn't he saying more? What does he know? What is he planning? Suddenly, they're writing novels in their own minds, and in every version, you're the villain they can't outmaneuver. That's the secret. The less you say, the more they imagine. The less you reveal, the more power they hand you. Machiavelli didn't need to speak to be understood. He spoke to be feared. So never say everything. Say exactly enough to control the tempo of thought. Then stop. Let them lean in. Let them sweat. Because mystery lives not in words, but in the space between them. Rule 7. Blur the line between threat and ally. People today crave certainty. They want to know who's safe, who's dangerous, who's a friend, who's an enemy. Machiavelli would never give them that comfort. He would blur the line until no one knew where he truly stood. He'd dine with enemies, praise rivals, defend people he privately planned to eliminate, not because he cared about them, but because confusion lowers defenses. If people think you're a threat, they prepare for battle. If they think you're harmless, they fall asleep. And the best time to strike is when the other side is sleeping. Machiavelli compared the fox and the lion. The fox avoids traps, the lion terrifies wolves. To win today, you must be both. Smile warmly while planning ruthlessly. Compliment an idea right before you replace its owner. Appear neutral until neutrality becomes a weapon. Modern translation: Say less, smile more, and move while they're still confused about whether you're even a danger. By the time they realize it, you've already taken the seat they thought was theirs. Rule 8. Make them feel safe before you take power. Overthrowing someone directly is risky. Machiavelli knew the cleanest way to win wasn't through confrontation, it was through comfort. Make people feel secure, supported, even admired. Then strike when they least expect it. Imagine how he'd operate today. He wouldn't argue aggressively. He'd mimic your language. He'd nod at your ideas. He'd gently soften disagreements. You'd never feel like you were losing. You'd feel like you were guiding him. You'd trust him. And that's when he would act, suddenly, decisively, completely. By the time you felt betrayed, it would be too late. You wouldn't even have the energy to resist because you'd never prepared for betrayal from someone who made you feel so safe. That's the genius. People defend against attacks, but they rarely defend against comfort. So Machiavelli would weaponize safety itself. Rule 9. Make people dependent, then withdraw. True power isn't in threats, it's in necessity. Machiavelli understood that the fastest way to dominate someone is to make yourself indispensable, then vanish. He wouldn't threaten to harm you. He'd help you. He'd solve problems no one else could, provide knowledge no one else offered, create stability you hadn't earned. Slowly, silently, he'd weave himself into your routines until you couldn't imagine operating without him. And then he'd leave. Not in anger, not in drama, just absence. And that absence would wreck you more than any attack could, because nothing devastates like losing something you never admitted you needed. Dependency is a chain people build for themselves. When you remove yourself, they collapse. And in that collapse, they'll chase you, remember you, obsess over the void you left behind. That's not just influence, that's addiction. Rule 10. Weaponize the favor. Most people give favors to be liked. Machiavelli would give favors to own you. If he offered you help, it wouldn't be an act of generosity, it would be a psychological chain. He wouldn't call in the debt directly, he'd let it linger. He'd remind you subtly. He'd smile when you mentioned your success and say, "Remember that time I..." Just once, enough to remind you that part of your progress belongs to him. The brilliance is this: the longer a favor goes unpaid, the heavier it becomes. You'll start to feel the imbalance every time you see him. You'll try to pay it back in loyalty, in information, in submission, anything to balance the scales. But the scales never balance. That's the trap. A favor, when weaponized, doesn't create gratitude. It creates psychological debt, and debt is control.
Rule 11. Manufacture loyalty through betrayal. People think loyalty is earned through kindness. Machiavelli knew better. Loyalty is forged through complicity. He wouldn't demand you prove yourself. He'd create situations where you betray others in his favor. A slip of gossip, a secret you weren't supposed to share, a small compromise you made to win his approval. He wouldn't pressure you. He'd just leave the door open, and you'd walk through it. Now you're tied to him, not by admiration, but by guilt. You've already compromised for him. You've already crossed a line. And people protect the choices they've already made, even when they regret them. That's how Machiavelli would build allies, not with kindness, but with entanglement. Because once you've betrayed for him, you'll defend him, not because you love him, but because losing him would expose you. Rule 12. Break alliances from the inside. Machiavelli didn't just dismantle individuals, he dismantled groups. But he never attacked them directly. he eroded them from within. If he saw a strong alliance, he wouldn't confront it. He'd infiltrate it. He'd whisper doubts. Did you notice how she didn't defend you? Strange how he always talks over you. He wouldn't accuse. He'd just plant questions. And questions are poison. Once suspicion enters a group, the group does the destruction for you. Friends start analyzing each other's behavior. Loyalties weaken. Small fractures grow into permanent breaks. And soon, the alliance collapses without you ever lifting a sword. He who causes another to become powerful ruins himself, Machiavelli warned. So he would never let an alliance strengthen unchallenged. He would hollow it out from within until the structure fell apart under its own weight. Rule 13. Reflect their insecurities back at them. The fastest way to gain control over someone isn't through strength. It's through subtle validation of their private fears. Machiavelli knew that insults triggered defenses, but insecurities opened doors from the inside. He wouldn't attack you directly. Instead, he'd reflect your doubts with surgical precision. You're impressive, especially for someone who doesn't usually get the spotlight. You always find a way to deliver even when others don't take you seriously. You've got confidence, even if it doesn't always show. What do these lines do? They don't insult. They don't praise fully. They gently press against the insecurities you already carry. And once you feel seen, truly seen, in your weaknesses, you attach yourself to the one who recognized them. This is psychological gravity. People obey not because they're threatened, but because they feel understood in the places they least want exposed. Machiavelli knew that when you become the voice that echoes someone's private doubts, they stop resisting. They start orbiting, and eventually, they move under your pull. Rule 14. Never be the one holding the knife. Every betrayal needs a villain. Every downfall needs an executioner. Machiavelli's golden rule was simple. Never let that villain be you. He would orchestrate chaos, but let others carry it out. He would whisper ideas, nudge decisions, set traps, but never push the blade himself. When someone needed to be cut off, he'd make it look like they never were loyal to begin with. When a rival needed to be removed, he'd let them self-destruct with just enough fuel from his whispers. Because if you're seen as the executioner, you earn enemies. But if you're seen as the inevitable alternative, the one who steps in after someone else fails, you earn followers. This is the Machiavellian masterpiece. Clean hands in a dirty world. Everyone suspects you, but no one can prove it. And by the time they try, you're already standing in the seat of the man they just destroyed. Rule 15. Say nothing. Let them reveal everything. In a noisy world, silence is violence. It unsettles. It provokes. It draws secrets out of people who don't realize they're confessing. Machiavelli would never rush to fill a gap in conversation. He'd let others choke on it. Someone insults him, he'd smile, say nothing. Someone demands his opinion, he'd let them keep talking. Someone tries to spark his emotion, he'd blink and stay quiet. And in that silence, they'd start to panic. They'd over-explain. They'd ramble. They'd reveal their weaknesses without realizing it. You don't need to interrogate someone when their own fear of silence makes them spill everything. Never attempt to win by force, Machiavelli warned, when deception can do the job cleaner. Silence is deception's most elegant disguise. By refusing to react, you force others to write the script in their own minds. And in every draft, you're the shadow they can't defeat. Rule 16. Be unpredictable, but only when it matters. Consistency makes you reliable. Predictability makes you vulnerable. Machiavelli knew that the person everyone can anticipate is the person everyone can control. He wouldn't be erratic. He wouldn't lash out randomly. That's chaos, not strategy. Instead, he'd be measured most of the time, steady, rational, dependable. And then in critical moments, he'd break the pattern. Sometimes he'd forgive when vengeance was expected. Other times he'd vanish when engagement was assumed. Sometimes he'd reward loyalty, other times he'd ignore it. Not constantly, just enough to keep everyone off balance. Why? Because predictability breeds manipulation. If they always know how you'll react, they can plan around you. But if they're never quite sure, if there's always a shadow of uncertainty, they'll fear you. Not because you're cruel, but because you're unreadable. Machiavelli knew that people are moved by love or by fear, and the most efficient form of fear is born not from violence, but from uncertainty.
Rule 17. Make your presence felt even in absence. The ultimate level of control is when people think of you even when you're not there. Machiavelli would engineer his presence so deeply into others' minds that his absence would feel louder than his words ever could. How would he do this today? By becoming the standard, the comparison point, the invisible shadow in every decision. His precision would haunt people. His restraint would linger. His judgment would echo in their minds, even when the chair he once occupied sat empty. That's not fame, that's psychological branding, not content, not charisma, energy. He'd imprint himself so deeply that when he left, people would still act as though he were watching. That's why Machiavelli didn't need to fire people, threaten people, or chase people. He became unforgettable by being the reference point. Even when he was gone, the room still obeyed him. Rule 18. Never threaten, let fear do the work. Threats are for the weak. The moment you announce what you're going to do, you've lost leverage. You've given people the opportunity to prepare. Machiavelli knew true fear doesn't come from what's spoken. It comes from what's left unsaid. He would never say, "I'll ruin you." He'd just pause when you lied. Let the silence rot your confidence and walk away without a word. He wouldn't say, "I'll end your chances." He'd just make one quiet phone call and then go silent. He wouldn't threaten. He'd disappear. And in that disappearance, paranoia would devour you. Because fear based on imagination is always stronger than fear based on information. Once people start imagining what you might do, they'll restrain themselves more than you ever could with threats. They'll self-police. They'll walk on eggshells. They'll hand you control without you even asking. Machiavelli understood the most powerful weapon isn't violence. It's silence sharpened into dread. Rule 19. Delay revenge until it devastates. Most people react instantly when wronged. That's weakness. That's letting the other side control the tempo. Machiavelli would never waste power in a moment of impulse. He would wait. He would study. He would let the offense breathe. Let it grow roots. Let the enemy relax into their illusion of victory. He would smile, nod, even reward them, until the memory of their betrayal dulled in their own minds. And then, one day, quietly, surgically, he'd move. No warning, no build-up, just a decisive strike they never saw coming. Because revenge isn't about anger, it's about control. When you react instantly, they still feel powerful. They provoked you. But when you wait, they never know when the knife is coming. Their paranoia becomes a punishment more brutal than the act itself. Machiavelli's rule, injury should be inflicted all at once so they can't recover.
Revenge should be delayed until it doesn't just hurt, it erases. Rule 20. Become a system, not a man. Machiavelli never wanted to be admired for personality. He wanted to be indispensable for structure. He knew that if your influence depends on your charm, it dies with your absence. But if your influence is embedded into systems, networks, and strategies, it becomes immortal. That's the modern move. Stop branding yourself as a personality. Start embedding yourself as a framework. Train others to think like you. Design systems no one else understands. Integrate yourself so deeply into how things function that removing you means dismantling the machine itself. That's not popularity, that's permanence. You're no longer just a man, you're the operating system. And people can hate you, resent you, plot against you, but they can't delete you without deleting themselves. Rule 21. Make them afraid to speak your name. The final level of power isn't recognition, it's haunting. Machiavelli wouldn't want to be famous. He'd want to be whispered about. He'd want his name avoided at tables because invoking it feels like summoning something too dangerous to handle. You wouldn't hear his name trending. You'd hear, "You know who I mean." Don't end up like him. Remember what happened last time. He wouldn't win arguments, he'd alter atmospheres. His influence would be so heavy, so permanent, that simply mentioning him would change the direction of a room. That's when you know you've won, not when they praise you, not when they fear you to your face, but when they can't even say your name with the temperature dropping. If Machiavelli lived today, he wouldn't be the loudest, he wouldn't be the most visible, he wouldn't chase recognition, likes, or applause. He would be invisible, moving in shadows. He would weaponize charm, silence, ambiguity, comfort, absence, and paranoia. He would make allies through betrayal, destroy networks with whispers, and build systems no one could erase. He would never chase fame. He'd position himself so deeply into the foundation of power that fame would be beneath him. And if you truly want to win in today's world, his doctrine is clear. Don't fight to be noticed, fight to be unavoidable. Don't seek respect, position yourself so they can't breathe without it. Don't just play the game, become the game. That's how Machiavelli would outsmart everyone today. Not with noise, not with visibility, with a legacy they cannot escape.